I know obviously different circumstances. Does it feel like the playoffs are starting now? Like, do you have that playoff feel despite the sort of the different surroundings?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a playoff feel to it, and I think it is feel different for sure, right? It's only probably makes sense and natural. I mean, I think you get the idea that you're now in a series and every game means a lot. But it obviously feels different. We're not at home and we're a long ways away from home in a very unique setting. So um, yes and no, yes and yes, maybe is the answer to your question.
Got it. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Next, we go to Michael Grange from Sportsnet.
Hey, Nick. Typically in this situation, your first round opponent, you would know them very well. You'd have, a season to sort of get to know this team that you're and look back on. But what's it like going into a playoff series where, the Nets they're not at all like any version of the Nets you saw earlier this year? Is that work to your favor, their favor? What's that all about?
Well, I think certainly an education process, we've gone through over the last few days, Michael, of first of all, personnel-wise, getting these guys. They're not complete strangers. We know a lot of them. We've played against a lot of them, either one way or another. Either in this team or even other teams or whatever. There's a few guys we haven't seen, and it's I guess it's trying to do the best you can of letting your guys know how they're playing and the style of play and their system and their sets and all that kind of stuff. But not too different than just coming in and, showing the guys, hey, this is what they do. Here's how we want to play against it. Let's go and let's see what happens.
And just a quick follow-up. Last year, a bit of a letdown in game one and then game two, first quarter, you kind of set the tone almost for your whole playoff run. Any hopes on your part you can kind of get right to that level of ferociousness, so to speak, and right out of the gate?
Well, Michael, I think that I'm not sitting here, hoping we play well, right? But I am also cognizant of the fact that this is a long game, 48 minutes, and a long series, right? So there's some obviously some interest in to see how we're going to come out of the gate, and then there's going to be some interest to see how we play, sustain the way we play. That's really the key, because it is a long game,
Thanks, Nick. Good luck,
Michael.
Next, we go to Josh Lewenberg from TSN.
Hello, Nick. Happy playoffs.
Hi, John.
I want to ask you about OG. He's been your guy defensively that you normally throw at the opposition's top perimeter player. Do you anticipate starting the game with him against LeVert, or do you see yourself sort of mixing things up a little bit more to start?
Yeah, I think that we will, Josh, send a number of people and a number of coverages towards LeVert. It's not any different than what we would do for most teams, leading scorer or player, right? We certainly don't, even we like to send a couple people at guys, and sometimes it goes down the list. 4 or 5 guys get cracks at them, and I would imagine there'll be a lot of guys that get a crack at LeVert.
Is OG and Serge ready to go? Everybody okay aside from Pat and O'Shea?
Yes.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome, Josh.
Next question goes to Greg Logan from Newsday.
Nick, last year the Sixers had a lot of success by trying to deny three-point attempts to Joe Harris. And they ran a guy out high to take care of him out there and make it difficult for him to even get the ball. Given the way he's shooting in the bubble, 54% from three, 62% overall, what do you anticipate doing against him?
Rodney, can you hear me?
Well, he's certainly a concern, and we've certainly gone over a lot of the scenarios where he's been getting the shots, and you're right, he's playing great. He's moving fantastic, right? He's really coming hard running hard up the floor, coming hard off screens. You know, so we'll pay a lot of attention to him. We'll put our best defenders on him, and you're right, we'll probably have to give some help from on top. And there's a number of coverages you use on a shooter, and we'll have to probably use them all.
Thank you.
We go next to Greg Ross from the CBC.
Hey, Nick. I guess last year during that playoff run, there was a lot of talk from players just talking about the atmosphere and the fans and how important Raptors fans were. In past years, there was talk about how video from Jurassic Park was pumped into the locker room to get guys fired up before the game. And I'm just wondering, obviously things are different. You've had 8 games now. You know what to expect out there. But is there a way to find that connection between the fans and the players when you're isolated in that bubble? Is there a way that maybe, because there are fans gathering in different ways here in Toronto to watch these games and to cheer the team on, is there a way to find that connection?
Well, I think so, Greg, but don't know if I know the answer to that yet. Only thing I can say is this, is that, you know, everybody's saying, well, home court doesn't matter and this, and I'm not so sure that's the case. You know, I think that there is some, you know, when it is your home game and I know the fans are there virtually, but there's still some familiar people you see. They're certainly in the colors and the jerseys and you know, showing some love for the Raps, right? So there's a nice feeling there. You know, there's some other crowd noise and things like that go on and trying to simulate being home. So there is a little bit of a factor there, and I guess I wouldn't want to dismiss that there is no home court advantage. I think that there is maybe, but to what extent that plays out, I don't know. And then lastly, I would say that whatever way we can figure out how to get our fans involved, like you mentioned, they're gathering and this and that. Our organization is awesome at that, you know. So we'll probably feel the energy, and even though everybody's a long ways away and it's different scenario and certainly interesting times, I think we'll feel the support all the way down here.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Oh, you there?
Oh, sorry. Time for 2 more questions. First one's going to go to Christian Winfield from the New York Daily News.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? First round of last year's playoffs, Rondé was a net. Just curious as to where you've seen him grow the most from when you first got him in Toronto to now.
Yeah, just, you know, I really wasn't sure when we got him where he would fit in, right? He's kind of a utility type player. You know, he's not really a perimeter shooter. We like to kind of put guys out, you know, most guys out there in a situation that they can shoot the 3. And he's not really that, but he's just done a great job of kind of maximizing that utility role. You know, sometimes we have him guard center, sometimes we have him guard point guards and everything in between. Certainly a hustle guy, makes a lot of hustle plays, gets a lot of extra possessions for us, and he can score. You know, just because he can't shoot doesn't mean he can't score. He's actually got a nice game around the basket. He's got a little low post game. He's actually can pass out of there too. So he's actually, you know, had some ups and downs with us, but he's come a long way, and he's a factor, right? He's in the rotation, and we're going to need him, you know, because he does bring a defensive element to his matchup. So we're happy with what he's, you know, the progress he's made and where he's at with our team right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And final question is going to go to Alex Scheifer from The Athletic in Brooklyn.
Hey, Nick, you know, you've spent a lot of time talking about Joe Harris and Karis LeVert. Obviously, Brooklyn's got a lot of strong play from some of their role guys like Garrett Temple, Tyler Johnson, TLC. I'm just curious what problems those guys have posed from looking at them.
Well, I think that, Alex, I think all these guys are playing great. You know, they've really kind of 2 things. They've played with great energy and intensity. They've played connected on defensive end, and they've played unselfishly on the offensive end. And that's why all those guys you just mentioned, you know, Allen and TLC and Tyler, the guys are good players, and they played well. Their vibe, what Coach Vaughn has got them all kind of pieced in the roles, but they look like they've been playing together forever, the way they've been playing. So they all know the roles, they all understand them, and they all been contributing.